Yo, what up, world? How's it going? Hope you guys are having a good day. My name is Ducker. Welcome back to another It's That Ducker video. Instead of making another variety gameplay video or an FPS montage, today I want to dive into a little bit of a unique topic, and that is aim training. And I want to break down a couple of mindsets that I use to help improve my FPS gameplay. Now, the program I used was called Kovaaks. It is developed and published by a little studio called The Meta, and it is an aim training program that gives you tools to hone your FPS gameplay, or at least that's what it states. But today we're going to be diving in a little bit deeper today and seeing if whether or not that program can actually help you improve your gameplay, your FPS gameplay, or not. Perfect practice makes perfect. Now, this is something that I have been taught throughout the years that I've held up to high regard for my entire life. And that is the mindset that practice does not make perfect, but perfect practice makes perfect. Now, that might seem a little bit too critical, but let me explain what I mean. Everyone's seen Karate Kid at this point now, right? Mr. Miyagi, when he was teaching certain concepts to Daniel, was very critical to Daniel when they first met. But he really wanted to instill a certain mindset in Daniel's mind before he started teaching him more advanced techniques. And I can't think of a better example than wax on, wax off. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, Ducker, what the hell does Karate Kid and wax on and wax off have to do with FPS aim training? Let me explain. There was a couple of really important things that Mr. Miyagi was trying to teach Daniel throughout that part of the movie. One of them was, do not accept mistakes. A lot of the times when I see people trying to practice FPS mechanics or hand-eye coordination, there is a tendency for people to try and go as hard and as fast as possible and almost try and force themselves to perform at a level that they are not able to perform at. So here's a couple of things that I did when I was working on Kovaaks that really helped me. One of them was to really focus. If you're focusing on something like hand-eye coordination, slow down and practice or memorize the mechanical movements in order to achieve that certain hand-eye coordination in that hand-eye task. So sometimes in order to achieve that, you might have to keep it simple. Don't be discouraged by small gains when working on something like hand-eye coordination, because it really is just memorizing mechanical movements and adapting those good habits into your gameplay. So make sure when you're working on these core skills to really pay attention to the mistakes you're making and try to reset yourself every time you make one. Because any little gain will help you in the long run, and those will be things that you will act on impulse when within a competitive match. Using aim training as a trainer and not a competition. Now, halfway through me using Kovaaks for the first month, I kind of fell into the same little rut for a little while. And that was, I was comparing my scores to the people that I was training next to. Try to stay away from that habit as you rise through the ranks of any program that you're using, because just like any other physical skill that you practice on, there's just going to be people that are naturally better at certain things than the other. So instead of discouraging yourself by trying to compare scores and categories to other players, really just try and use that as a gauge of your growth rather than trying to compete in the leaderboards themselves. Comparing yourself to any one of your teammates is really just going to create a roadblock in your head and kind of ruin your focus on the task at hand. So my advice would be to not really compare yourself at all to any of your teammates or anyone else on the leaderboards and try and just focus on the growth that you're achieving. How to avoid burnout. Now, burnout is a relatively tricky topic, because as with any monotonous training, at some point, it's going to start feeling super repetitive and boring. The only real advice I have with dealing with burnout and how to avoid it is to take breaks often and to try to really have a healthy variety of exercises that you work on each week. This again goes back to trying to force yourself to get better at something. A lot of the times, if you're not enjoying the training that you're doing, it'll get really easy to fall into a repetitive rut in which you're just practicing for the sake of practicing. Just check some of the top players within your competitive game. I'm willing to bet that most of those people really enjoy the game that they play, and that has a lot to do with retaining the information at the end of the day. So really try to find exercises that are fun for you, and really try to boil down the concepts that the exercise is trying to teach you. How Kovaaks has improved my gameplay. Now, this might seem strange considering I just went through this entire mindset behind how to train on an aim trainer. You could be doing this type of training on any program that works on hand-eye coordination. I've been off of Kovaaks for probably about 5 or 6 months now. But the good habits I've made using the program are still allowing me to improve because I adapted those core mechanics into muscle memory. And that's the biggest thing I want you guys to take from this video. In every FPS, you still need to learn positioning, timing, and recoil patterns. And in a lot of FPSs nowadays, utility and abilities massively change the conditions in which equals a kill. And that's why in the end, I will say that Kovaaks does not make you a better FPS player, even if it helps you on your FPS aiming. Because in the end, aiming is only about 25% of the game. You have to work on positioning, timing, and then also teamwork, which we haven't talked about at all in this video, which are very important aspects to every competitive FPS title nowadays. In the end, I hope you've learned a couple of things that you can adapt to your own aim training regimen that will help you gain muscle memory so that you can work on other aspects of improving your competitive FPS gameplay. Guys, this has been my first tips and tricks / tutorial video. I plan on doing more of these types of things. So as always, feedback is appreciated. And hopefully this wasn't too jumbled as I try to explain some things that have helped me in my competitive FPS grind. Hope you guys have a good rest of your day. If you would like any other content made by me, go ahead and check out the description below, and I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy.